we have the documents introducing from the corner of the top 5 worst teams. We have the one, the only Brick Jameson with the top 5 worst teams in the NFL.
Thank you for that introduction. And thank you for all who are watching, whether it be on a smartphone, an iPad, computer, or wherever else you consume this podcast. We have the documents. It is sealed and it is officially open. We're going to go over the top 5 worst teams in the NFL, shielding and staining the shield that is the NFL. Roger Goodell in his office, shaking at his boots with these 5 disgraceful teams. Let me first tell you who is spared from this list.
Okay.
Look, Arizona Cardinals, you faced the 49ers. You got crushed. We're not surprised. Your team is bad, but you are spared. You're just a small little bird taking on a titan that is the 49ers.
A windmill.
Another team, and maybe this is biased because I do love that Italian cooking down there in Jersey. The Giants are spared. Tommy DeVito's been sacked 35 times in 5 games. If he played 50 games, he would be sacked 350 times. That's amazing. That's incredible. Let's get into the documents here. We don't have much time. We must go over the bottom 5 teams. And number 5, this team has been consistently at the top of this list, but this week they put up a fight against the defending champions. I have the Patriots at number 5. You are still one of the worst teams in the NFL because your offense is a disgrace. Bailey Zappi, please do not keep him. I am begging to God's good graces that you do not continue on this path of abysmal offenses. But I have to put you on this list for a few reasons. For one thing, your offense sucks, but you and your goddamn ego. If you just would let the Steelers beat you once, you would have Caleb Williams in your hands, and all you would need to do is lose, which hasn't been much of a challenge for you this year. But you and your ego, Mike Ehrmantraut saying to Walter White, you and your ego, you just had to beat the Steelers. You and your vendetta against Mike Tomlin. Well, I hope you're happy with Drake May or whatever offensive tackle from Navy you end up selecting. You'll have the number 2 pick, and we all know whether it be a Zach Wilson or whether it be a Trey Lance or whoever else.
Bo Nix.
That's never the answer. So you and your ego, congratulations. You are the 5th worst team according to the Brickyard. Number 4. The reason why these guys are as low as they are, I will explain. None other than the Los Angeles Thunderbolts, or dare I say, the last bit of charge that you might have a 2-watt bulb that is the Chargers. 63 points allowed. The Broncos, earlier this year, making the top of this list with a 70-point disappointment. But what did they not have? The Sean McVay of defense. The Sean McVay of defense brings out his best product against the lowly Raiders. You have Easton Stick. You have Josh Kelly. You have banged up Keenan Allen. I'm like, this game is not going to be pretty for them. They're probably not going to win. But 63 points, 21 points in 5 minutes. And then I look at the score, 56-7 at one point. You and your pride. We talked about the Patriots and their ego. Well, what happened to your team? The only bright side that came from this game is that we see Brandon Staley. We were just at a local coffee shop. He was grinding up the beans. Congratulations, Brandon Staley. You moved on quick. Not only that, what else did we see in this game that I can put them lower on this list? We saw the one, the only, Brandon Bolden come from the shadows. He comes around once in a blue moon. Well, guess what? Thursday night, there was a blue moon, and guess who we saw? None other than Mr. Bolden himself. We will see you next year, Mr. Bolden. The Chargers at number 4. Number 3. None other than the New Jersey Boogers. You thought you were spared a week ago when Zach Wilson had his best performance. Well, guess what? You went to the lowly Miami Dolphins. I'd say lowly, that's a bit of a harsh rhetoric. But 12 of your 14 games, you have scored 1 or less offensive touchdowns. I thought the Panthers were bad, and I was right. I thought the Patriots were bad, and I was right. But somehow you disappointed me even more. I understand, no Aaron Rodgers. And a miraculous report comes out shortly before this episode. No Aaron Rodgers this year. Oh my God, a torn Achilles out for the season? I thought he still had hope. Nope.
Whoa.
I guess not, but it's okay. At least you guys have Trevor Siemian, so, lessen the blow. Number 2, on this list. This team would normally be spared in the history of the worst top fives, but I make the documents and I know what is the truth. The Panthers, you are still one of the worst teams in the NFL, if not the worst. You finally beat the Atlanta Falcons. You scored 9 points. You were offering tickets for as low as 45 cents to get into your game, and yet you still had an attendance below 100. That's impressive. Your team is such a joke that even just a scrubbing together 2 quarters was not enough for it to be worth sitting in the torrential downpours of Carolina with David Tepper sitting in the sweet box. That was not enough to see your lowly Panthers win their second and only 2 wins of the season this week. But nothing could be worse than the worst team, according to the Brickyard podcast. Yes, that's right. The team. You're making me sick already. The team that lost to you. The team that lost to the worst team. Who has been the worst top team the last 12 weeks. That's right. The Atlanta Falcons. Now, why are the Atlanta Falcons at number 1, you might ask? First of all, you lost to the worst team. Therefore, you are worse than them. You couldn't muster 10 points to beat the lowly Panthers. You decided in the offseason, no, Lamar Jackson, I like you. You're cool and all. You know, arguably the greatest running quarterback of all time, MVP winner. But we have Desmond Ridder. Says who? This is something that even a high school coach would go, yeah, this guy's going to make our team better. Well, how much better would they be with Lamar Jackson? I'll tell you what they'd be. They would be in the playoffs right now. Not only that, we look back to the 28-3 team, and it has not been the same since. And you wonder why. Well, they had this report of them artificially adding noise to their stadium, and then you look at their owner. This guy looks like if Ratatouille became a mob boss.
The
Falcons. Arthur Blank. Look him up. He looks like a mouse.
Are they still doing crowd noise? Jesus.
They are still doing crowd noise. Mercedes-Benz Stadium. The highlight of the Falcons since the 28-3 loss was hosting the Donda listening party. And other than that, your franchise has been losing. And now, banking on Desmond Ridder for your future with Arthur Smith, who looks like a cop at this point, get over yourselves. You guys are now officially the worst team, according to the Brickyard. Most accurate, most confidential, document sealed.